double DIY build, part 2. So you see the boys behind me, they have a nice, luxurious 3,000 gallon aquarium. You know, they're big Amazonian cichlids. It's just not fair that only they get that treatment in Predator Bay. So as you know, we're working on aquarium domain sizing, the Amazonian fish in the 220 and the Asian stream tank in the 125 with the new 750 and 600 builds. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about. All right, as you know, we have the 220 Amazon Jungle Aquarium, and it is kind of a mess right now. We got the burnout light, we got some algae. These guys are definitely ready for the new home. And as you know, they're moving into the 750 gallon. So just kind of taking a little bit of a glimpse at where they're at now, so we can really appreciate when they move into their new home, Amazonian Islands, the 750 gallon. And of course, the Asian Jungle Stream Aquarium. These guys also moving into a bigger home, moving into their 600 gallon. And I don't know if we can still call it a stream. It'll be something, you know. It'll still be these guys with some added larger tropical Southeast Asian species. So it really should be something. There's some very cool fish going in there. And along with all these guys, I think it'll be pretty impressive. You can tell I had to cut back the pogo a little bit. The plants were just getting out of control. The fish didn't have enough room to swim. So obviously I don't build the new tanks fast enough. You know, the plants were outgrowing me, so I went ahead and trimmed it back a little bit. But everyone's doing great in here. And again, just checking out their current home so we can really appreciate when they move into their new home very, very soon. All right, so that's a nice little reminder of why we're building these tanks, but let's get back into why we're here. Let's go check out the progress on building the tanks. All right, you're not experiencing deja vu. It's more wood. These builds eat it up like no tomorrow, but instead of just 2x6s, we got the 3/4 inch birch plywood and the 2x4s. That means the double DIY builds are maturing. We're moving on to the next sections. Things are happening. All right, let me get this unloaded and get to it. Okay, as you can see, we've made some progress, and before I get too far, I want to stop and take some video of where we're at, what we're working on right now, try to show more of the in-between steps than the previous builds. So as you can see here, this is the 750, and let's go ahead and start with the decision on the legs. I decided to go with the single row of beams in the middle, tripled up 2x6s. That gives me more room to access the sump and gives me all the support I need because we only have a 6-foot span from left to right. And then, of course, you can see the wood for the top has been cut. This is the 3/4 inch birch plywood. And since the tank is so deep, one single 4-foot section doesn't fit it, so we have to add some more in the back. And just to support that, so underneath it's being supported with some extra wood framing bracing, so that where the seam is, the seam will land on there. And actually it's going under an inspection right at this moment to make sure I did it right. And so it'll be supported by the wood, and then on top it will be fiberglass. So we'll make that seam go away so that when we go to do the epoxy paint, there is no seam. There is just a solid, smooth surface ready for it. And then as far as the poles, we just did some notching and a little notching over here. And the reality of it is the framing goes on the outside, so really this edge part and back there where there's external seams, like where the wood butts together and everything, it doesn't really matter there. That's not going to be epoxy painted. It's not really part of the tank in terms of being exposed to water. It is simply just the wall framing for the tank. And of course, since this is a double DIY build, boom, we have 2 of them. So everything I'm doing over here, I am doing over here as well. So as you can see, the same decision, triple 2x6s in the middle, easy to access the sump, plenty of support. And in this case, since the tank is 4 feet deep, a regular sheet of plywood is already the right 4-foot width. Just had to cut it down to that's a little over 6. It's like 6'2" long. And there you go. So easier on the 600 gallon than the 750, a little bit more work to do on the 750, but really this is it. Just this one seam in the back is the only really special thing about the 750. After that, I'm just building up the walls on both tanks. The framing, like you've seen, it's going to be Predator Bay style, other than only a single front glass, but the walls will be Predator Bay style. They'll be built up. It'll be heavily top braced. which is good for me. It's easy to climb on it and get inside of it because they're massive tanks. So a lot of the work requires kind of getting in there, laying on the top. So it's got to be very strong to support that, and yeah, it's actually easier to build. The stack method is super strong, but pretty much overkill, and with the price of wood, unaffordable. All right, so let me go ahead and get back to getting this done, and I'll start screwing down both tops on both tanks, and then we'll start building up the framing, and then it's going to look like an aquarium. All right, one last look at the foundations before we start building up. So we have the 600 gallon, all the foundation and the 3/4 inch ply is all screwed down and ready to go. Now we're going to start the vertical framing, and the same with the 750. 750 all ready to go, time to start building up. Obviously we'll have a little bit of custom work to do on the walls to get around those poles. I think we're just going to 45 it there and 45 it here, make it nice and somewhat symmetrical. As you can see, the poles aren't exactly in the same place in the tank, but easiest way to go around them, and that'll give us some nice conduits to run cables down, because we do have power up high on the wall, and there's also another power outlet down there. And since these are each dedicated runs, this power outlet here can feed one tank and the other one can feed the other tank. Okay, next time we see these tanks, they're gonna start to have walls, start to look like actual aquariums. All right, back to work. Okay, foundation of the walls is in place. You can see we're doing the 45s on the corners, a small one here and a little bit big one over here. So people who love symmetry, 750 is gonna be a frustrating tank for you, but for those of you who like the most room for your fish, that's what's gonna give it, is a little bit of custom work there in the corner based on the pole. But here we are. It's from here, it actually goes up pretty quick. And you know what? Rather than tell you about it, let me show you. Boom, 600 gallon. Walls are already going up. Like I said, once you get that base down, you get it all squared and lined up, you can start building these walls on the floor and connecting them up pretty quick. And the same deal with the framing in the front for the glass, and then around the top, you know, we'll do more layers to basically overlap all the corners multiple times to make it strong, and then of course the cross braces. So as you can see, it goes up pretty quick. The reason I stopped here is because I ran out of wood. It seems to be a common theme, going and getting wood and running out of wood. But you can see in part 2, the foundation is done, the supports are in place, we're building up. By the next video, oh my gosh, it's gonna look amazing. But things are happening. We have, you know, 2 at one time, right? So it takes a little bit longer, but we're going to end up with a 600 and a 750. Good times for the Freshwater NX. All right, and the final update for part 2. You can see I've moved the construction operations inside. It's starting to get cold and it gets dark too early if I'm going to get home from work. So moved everything in here so we can keep going and keep the build progress moving. We got plenty of wood, and we have started building up. I told you, once you get that frame in place and you start building up, it really does start to look like something pretty quick. This definitely gives you an idea of how the build is going to look. You know, the main parts of the construction. Obviously, we're going to be, you know, this will be many more rungs high of boards. We'll be overlapping all of the corners. There'll be more supports here, but essentially this is it. You know, we're going to go around in these corners here, and we're going to put in blocking. So anywhere the plywood on the inside meets up, you know, you got to have something for it to butt against, something to support it on every corner, every edge. So we'll do that there, we'll do that here, and of course same thing on the other side, but easy stuff. Just go ahead and put the blocking in. I build these frame walls down on the ground and then I move them up and connect them all together. It's just easier than working up, standing on here, bending over. So yeah, very quickly all this framing will be done, and it'll be time to do the plywood on the inside and then the fiberglass. And then after that, of course, is the epoxy paint, seal in the glass, drill some holes, do some plumbing, and we will be live. So you can see this is where we're going. And of course, as the double DIY build, we just have to do everything twice. So started a little bit, as you know, on the 750, we got the base frame. Starting to build all the other pieces on the ground. Obviously this one's got these 45 corner, so a little bit more to it. Nothing too crazy, but a little bit different. But yeah, we're gonna get this framing done, get the plywood, get it cut, do the same thing over here. Plywood, fiberglass, epoxy paint, glass, a little bit of plumbing, and we're gonna have double DIY builds that in short order are gonna be aquariums. So it's exciting. I'm definitely pumped. These fish are gonna look amazing. I mean, this tank's gonna have geophagus and severum and angels and schools of large tetra, Columbia tetra, Buenos Aires, along with the smaller guys, Amazonian islands. I'll leave it up to you to what that design's going to look like. In my head, it looks good. Hopefully it still looks good when I make it for real. But I got an idea. I think it's going to be nice. And then, like I said, this is really not a stream anymore because it's almost as thick, as deep as it is wide, you know, but it is still going to be a Asian jungle stream, lagoon, or bayou or something. You know, I'll figure out a name for it. But again, it's going to have, I think, some pretty over-the-top aquascaping. Of course, Aquarium main style, which is ecosystem. So I want this thing to, as much as possible, support itself. The combination of the big sump filtration, deep sand bed, all live plants. You know, of course, real rocket wood and everything for bacteria to grow on, for microfauna, for organisms, you know, decaying wood, decaying plant matter, all that stuff that makes an ecosystem. And then, of course, like I said, we have some Southeast Asian community fish species coming to this that are bigger and cooler. They're really going to mix in well with all the small schooling fish we have. It really should look like something when it's all done. You know, I think we're due for a update video on the 1,500 gallon system. The sump's been fixed. That was a lot of work, but it's done, and there's been changes there. There's been some changes in the 600 reach slope. There's been a little bit of change, not as much as I hoped in the 265 portion of the system, but it is slowly going along. It's doing great. Everything's great in there. It's just I haven't had a chance to do some of the work with corals that I wanted to, but definitely needed an update. But thanks for watching part 2 of the double DIY build, and see you guys soon.